Daniel Carter stood near the back wall of the reception hall and watched the alien diplomats move through the crowd. He held a datapad in his hands and tried to look busy. He was a junior attach, which meant he was nobody important. His job tonight was to make sure the refreshment tables stayed full and to stay out of the way. The Galactic Union Embassy Station was celebrating 10 years of human membership tonight. 10 years since Earth made first contact. 10 years since humanity learned they were not alone in the universe. Daniel still remembered watching the news as a teenager when the first alien ship landed. Now he worked among them. Sort of. Mostly he filed reports and carried messages for Commander Lisa Howard, the station chief. The hall was filled with beings from dozens of worlds. Tall ones with 4 arms. Short ones with scales. Some floated instead of walked. Daniel had learned to stop staring months ago, but he still felt out of place. Near the center of the room, a group of Thyrans stood in a circle of their own. They were the most human-looking aliens Daniel had encountered. Tall and elegant with silver blue skin and soft glowing marks on their faces. They moved like royalty because most of them were royalty. Daniel knew the Theran Empire was one of the oldest powers in the galaxy. They had been traveling between stars when humans were still figuring out fire. Tonight their delegation included Princess Violet Seranis, third daughter of the Theran Emperor. Daniel had seen her from across the room several times. She was beautiful in a way that made his chest tight. But she was also so far above his station that looking too long felt like a crime. He turned back to his datapad and checked the supply list. Loud crack echoed through the hall. Daniel looked up. One of the decorative fixtures on the ceiling was shaking. The metal supports had bent somehow. The fixture was huge, made of heavy crystal and metal, and it hung directly above the Thyran delegation. Another crack. The fixture dropped several inches. People started screaming. The Thyrans looked up in confusion. Their guards moved forward, but they were too slow. The fixture was falling. Daniel did not think. He ran. He pushed through the crowd, shoving aliens aside without apology. His legs pumped harder than they ever had. He saw the princess standing directly beneath the falling mass. She was frozen, staring up with wide eyes. Daniel slammed into her with his full weight. They flew sideways together and hit the floor hard. Daniel rolled on top of her and curled his body around hers. He tucked his head and waited. The crash was deafening. Metal and crystal exploded across the floor. Something sharp hit Daniel's back. Then his arm. Then his shoulder. He gritted his teeth and held his position. Silence followed. Then screaming again. Then running feet. Daniel opened his eyes. His back was on fire with pain. He could feel blood running down his skin. But beneath him, the princess was breathing. Her luminescent marks pulsed rapidly with fear, but she was alive and unharmed. "Are you okay?" Daniel asked. His voice came out rough. The princess stared up at him with wide violet eyes. You saved me. Are you hurt anywhere?" Daniel asked again. He needed to know before he moved. "No, I am not hurt." Daniel nodded and tried to push himself up. His arms shook. He managed to roll off her and sit on the floor among the debris. His uniform was torn and bloody. Thyran guards surrounded them instantly. Strong hands grabbed Daniel and pulled him away from the princess. Someone shouted in a language he did not understand. "Stop!" Princess Valeth commanded. Her voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "Release him immediately." The guards froze. Valeth rose to her feet with grace that seemed impossible given what just happened. She pointed at Daniel. "This human saved my life. He threw himself over me and took the impact meant for my body. You will treat him with respect." The guards released Daniel. One of them actually bowed to him. Daniel tried to stand, but his legs gave out. 2 guards caught him before he hit the ground. "Get him to the medical bay," Bailiff ordered. "Now, use our own physicians. I want the best care available." Daniel felt himself being lifted. The world was starting to blur at the edges. Blood loss, probably. He had seen it before during his rescue work days back on Earth. "Wait," he said weakly. He looked at the princes one more time. "I'm glad you're okay." Then everything went dark. Daniel woke up in a bed that was too comfortable to be human-made. The sheets felt like water against his skin. The lights above him were soft and warm. He tried to sit up and found that his back barely hurt anymore. He reached around and felt smooth skin where there should have been wounds. "Thyron medicine," a familiar voice said. Daniel turned his head. Commander Lisa Howard sat in a chair beside his bed. She was a stern woman in her 50s, with gray hair and sharp eyes. Right now, those eyes looked worried and relieved at the same time. "How long was I out?" Daniel asked. 6 hours. "The Thyron doctors healed your wounds completely. You had 17 cuts on your back and arms. 3 of them were deep enough to see bone." Daniel processed this. "The princess?" "Unharmed. Thanks to you." Howard leaned forward. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "I saved someone's life. That's what I used to do back home." "You saved a Thyron royal's life. That's different." Howard rubbed her forehead. "There's something called Vareth Khan in their culture. A life debt. When someone saves a royal, it creates a bond that the royal must honor." Daniel frowned. "I don't want anything from her. I just did what was right." "That's not how they see it. The princess has already requested to meet with you when you wake up." Howard stood. "Get some rest. You're about to become the most famous human on this station." Daniel lay back and stared at the ceiling. He had come here to file reports and stay invisible. Now everything had changed because of 10 seconds of instinct. He closed his eyes and wondered what came next. 3 days passed. Daniel stayed in the medical bay even though his wounds were healed. Commander Howard said it was for observation. Daniel suspected it was to keep him away from the chaos he had caused. It did not work. Every few hours, another Thyron visitor arrived at his door. They brought gifts. Small crystals that glowed with inner light. Bottles of drinks he could not pronounce. Pieces of fabric that probably cost more than his yearly salary. Each visitor bowed deeply before leaving. Daniel did not know what to do with any of it. His friend, Kevin Morris, stopped by on the second day. Kevin worked in communications and had a talent for finding out things he should not know. "You're famous," Kevin said with a wide grin. He sat on the edge of Daniel's bed without asking. "Every alien on this station knows your name. The human who saved the Thyron princess. They're calling you a hero." "I just reacted," Daniel said. "Anyone would have done the same." "No, they wouldn't have. I watched the security footage. You moved before anyone else even understood what was happening. 3 seconds. That's how long it took you to cross that room." Kevin shook his head. "That's not normal, Danny." Daniel shrugged. "I used to be a rescue worker. You train yourself to move toward danger, not away from it. Well, whatever the reason, you've got the attention of the entire Thyron Empire now." Kevin lowered his voice. "Do you know what Varethkin really means?" Commander Howard mentioned it. "A life debt. It's more than that. The person who is saved gets to choose how they honor the debt. They can offer gifts or service or political alliance." Kevin paused. "Or partnership." "Partnership?" "It's like being chosen as an equal. A companion. Someone who stands beside them in all things." Kevin looked at Daniel seriously. "The princess hasn't announced her choice yet. Everyone is waiting." Daniel felt uncomfortable. "I don't want her to owe me anything. I just did what was right. Try telling her that." Later that afternoon, Prince Corvith Soranus came to visit. The prince was tall even by Thyran standards. His silver-blue skin was darker than his sister's, and his luminescent marks glowed with a cold light. He wore formal robes and carried himself like a weapon waiting to be used. Daniel stood when the prince entered. He did not bow. He was not sure if he was supposed to. Corvith studied him for a long moment. "You are the human, Daniel Carter." "Yes, you saved my sister." "I did." Corvith stepped closer. His eyes were hard. "My sister is important to the Empire. She's beloved by our people. If you think you can use this situation to gain power or wealth or influence, you are mistaken. I will destroy you." Daniel met the prince's gaze without flinching. He had faced down collapsing buildings and burning vehicles. One angry prince did not scare him. "I don't want power," Daniel said calmly. "I don't want wealth. I don't want influence. I saw someone in danger and I acted. That's all. Where I come from, that's just called being a decent person." Corvith blinked. Whatever response he had expected, this was not it. "You truly want nothing?" "Nothing except to know she's okay." Daniel sat back down on his bed. "I've been a rescue worker for years. I've saved a lot of people. I never asked any of them for anything afterward. I'm not going to start now just because she wears a crown." The prince stood very still for several seconds. Then something in his expression shifted. Not warmth exactly, but the ice melted slightly. "You are strange for a human," Corvith said. "I get that a lot." Corvith turned and left without another word. Daniel let out a breath he did not know he had been holding. The next morning, Princess Velith came to see him. She arrived with only 2 guards instead of her usual dozen. She wore simple robes instead of formal dress. Her luminescent marks glowed soft pink, which Daniel had learned meant she was calm. Daniel stood and gave a small bow. "Your Highness." "Please sit," Velith said. Her voice was gentle. "You are still recovering. I'm fully healed. Your doctors are amazing. They are the best in the Empire." Velith sat in the chair beside his bed. The same chair Howard had used. "I wanted to thank you properly. Without ceremony. Without politics. You don't have to thank me." "I know. That is why I want to." Velith studied his face. "Tell me about yourself, Daniel Carter. Tell me about your world. Tell me why you ran toward danger when everyone else ran away." So Daniel told her. He talked about Earth, about Colorado, where he grew up surrounded by mountains, about becoming a rescue worker at 22, about pulling people from car wrecks and house fires and floodwaters, about the training that made his body move before his mind could catch up. Velith listened without interrupting. Her violet eyes never left his face. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "Most beings in my life want something from me," she said finally. "They want favor. They want alliance. They want to use my position for their own gain. In 200 years of life, I have learned to see the hunger in people's eyes." She leaned forward slightly. "I do not see it in yours, because it's not there. I know. That is what makes you remarkable." Velith stood. "I have made my decision regarding the Verth Can. I will announce it tomorrow at a formal ceremony. I would like you to attend." Daniel's heart beat faster. "What did you decide?" Velith smiled. It transformed her face from beautiful to radiant. "You will see." She left without another word. Daniel sat in the silence she left behind and wondered what tomorrow would bring. He had a feeling his life was about to change forever. The grand ceremonial hall was the largest room on the embassy station. Daniel had never been inside it before. Junior attaches did not get invited to events held here. Today, he stood at the center of it. The hall was filled with diplomats from across the galaxy. Hundreds of beings from dozens of species filled the tiered seating that rose up on all sides. Daniel felt their eyes on him like physical weight. Kevin stood with the small human delegation near the front. Commander Howard was beside him. Both of them looked nervous. Daniel understood the feeling. The Thyran delegation occupied the place of honor on a raised platform. Ambassador Dren, a silver-haired elder with marks that glowed steady gold, stood at the front. Prince Corvith sat nearby with an expression Daniel could not read. Princess. Valith was not yet present. Ambassador. Dren raised his hand, and the hall fell silent. We gathered today to witness the resolution of Varith Khan, Dren announced. His voice carried through the room without amplification. 4 days ago, a human named Daniel Carter saved the life of Princess Valith Saranis. He acted without hesitation. He shielded her body with his own. He bled so that she would not. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Many species were watching humans for the first time at an event like this. In Thyran tradition, the one who is saved must honor the dead in a manner of their choosing. The princess has made her decision. She will announce it now. A door opened at the side of the platform. Princess Valith entered in ceremonial robes of deep purple and silver. Her luminescent marks glowed bright enough to cast shadows. She moved with grace that made everyone else in the room seem clumsy. Daniel's breath caught in his chest. Valith walked to the center of the platform and faced the assembly. When she spoke, her voice was clear and strong. I am Valith Saranis, third daughter of Emperor Torvath Saranis, heir to the ancient bloodline of Thyra. I speak now with the full weight of my position and my honor. She paused. The silence in the hall was absolute. 4 days ago, I should have died. A human prevented that. He did not know me. He did not know what saving me would mean. He simply saw someone in danger, and he moved. Valith's eyes found Daniel in the crowd. In all my years, I have rarely seen such pure courage. Daniel felt heat rise to his face. He was not used to being praised. He was not used to being noticed at all. I have spent much time speaking with this human, Valith continued. I have learned about his world and his people. I have come to understand that humans are not like us. They are young. They are small. They live brief lives and their bodies break easily. And yet, she smiled slightly. And yet this one ran toward falling death while everyone else fled. Valith turned to face a group of young Thyrans seated behind her. These were her friends and advisors, the nobles who had accompanied her on this diplomatic journey. They watched with curious expressions. Valith pointed at Daniel. Her voice rang through the hall. That's my partner. The hall erupted. Voices rose from every direction. Some shouted in surprise. Others spoke rapidly in languages Daniel did not understand. The human delegation looked stunned. Commander Howard's mouth hung open. Kevin grabbed Daniel's arm. Do you know what she just did? Not exactly. Ambassador Dren raised his hand again for silence. It took longer this time. When the noise finally died down, he spoke with clear amazement in his voice. The princess has chosen Vera Soren, the highest form of honor debt. She has named this human as her partner, her equal, her companion in all matters of importance. Daniel's legs felt weak. He understood now why everyone was so shocked. Dren continued. Partnership through Varith Soren grants status, protection, and voice. Daniel Carter will have the right to stand beside the princess. He will have the right to speak in Terran councils. He will be treated as one of our own. Commander Howard suddenly appeared at Daniel's side. She spoke quickly and quietly. This isn't a marriage proposal. It's different, but it's just as significant. She's basically adopted you into her inner circle. You'll have diplomatic standing most humans can only dream of. Daniel looked at Prince Corvith. The prince's expression had shifted. He was watching Daniel with something that might have been approval. The human must accept, Dren announced. Partnership cannot be forced. Daniel Carter stepped forward. Daniel walked toward the platform. His footsteps echoed in the quiet hall. He climbed the steps and stood before Princess Valith. She looked at him with those violet eyes. Beneath her royal composure, he saw hope. He saw vulnerability. He saw a woman who had just put her reputation on the line for a stranger. "Do you accept this honor?" she asked. Daniel thought about his answer. He could refuse. He could walk away and return to his quiet life of filing reports and restocking refreshment tables. No one would blame him, but that was not who he was. "I accept," Daniel said. "But I have one request." Whispers spread through the crowd. Making requests during Verasorin was apparently not common. "Speak it," Valith said. "I don't want this to be about debt. I don't want you to feel obligated to me because I did what any decent person should do." Daniel held her gaze. "If we're going to be partners, let it be because we choose it. Let it be built on respect and friendship, not obligation." Valith stared at him for a long moment. Then she laughed. It was a beautiful sound, free and genuine, and it made her luminescent marks pulse with warmth. "You continue to surprise me, Daniel Carter." She extended her hand in a gesture he had learned was Thuran custom. "I agree to your terms. Let our partnership be built on choice, not debt." Daniel took her hand. Her skin was cool and smooth against his. The hall burst into applause. Humans and aliens alike celebrated a moment that would be remembered in history. The first human to ever be named partner to Thyran royalty. Daniel looked out at the crowd and saw Kevin cheering. He saw Howard smiling despite herself. He saw Corvith nodding with genuine respect. He had come to this station to be invisible. Now everyone in the galaxy knew his name. Valith squeezed his hand gently. "Welcome to my world, partner." Daniel squeezed back. "I hope I don't disappoint you." "I don't think that's possible." 2 weeks passed faster than Daniel expected. His life had transformed completely. He no longer lived in the cramped junior attached quarters. Now he had rooms near the Thyran delegation, spacious and filled with alien comforts he was still learning to use. His uniform had been replaced with clothing that marked him as part of Valith's household. But the biggest change was the time he spent with the princess herself. Every day they met for meals. Every evening they walked through the station's observation decks and talked. Valith taught him about Thyran history, politics, and customs. Daniel told her stories about Earth, about baseball games and mountain hikes and the smell of rain on hot pavement. They learned to laugh together. They learned to argue together. A genuine friendship grew between them, exactly as Daniel had requested. "You ask questions no one else asks," Valith told him one night as they watched ships dock at the station. "You see things from angles I never considered." "Is this common for humans?" "I don't know about all humans," Daniel said. "But my mom always said I was born asking why. I would like to meet your mother someday." Daniel smiled. She would like that too. Their peaceful routine ended on the 15th day. Commander Howard called an emergency meeting. Daniel attended alongside the Thyran delegation for the first time in his new role. The briefing room was tense when he entered. "The Vorak Dominion has made a move," Howard announced. Her face was grim. "They've threatened a neutral colony world called Shelvan 3. The planet has mining operations vital to several empires, including the Thyrans." Ambassador Dren spoke gravely. "The Vorak have long desired those resources. They claim the colony owes them payment for protection services never requested." "It's extortion," Valith said coldly. "The Vorak are little more than pirates with a fleet." "Pirates with enough ships to destroy the colony," Howard replied. "The Galactic Union is calling for diplomatic resolution. Someone needs to go to Shelvan 3 and negotiate with the Vorak commander." Dren looked at Valith. "The Emperor has requested that you lead our delegation, Princess." Daniel saw Villis' jaw tighten. She did not refuse. Very well. I will leave within the hour. I'm going with her, Daniel said. The room went quiet. Howard looked like she wanted to argue. Dren seemed uncertain. He is my partner, Villis said firmly. Where I go, he may follow. That was the agreement. No one argued further. The journey to Shelvin 3 took 2 days by Thyron ship. Daniel spent the time training with Villis guards. They taught him basic defensive moves and showed him how to use a Thyron stun weapon. He learned quickly. His rescue training had given him good instincts. You move well for a human, said Torvik, the head guard. It was the closest thing to a compliment Daniel had received from him. The colony world was a rocky planet with orange skies and thin air. The negotiation facility sat on a plateau overlooking vast mining pits. The Vorik delegation had already arrived. Daniel's first impression of the Vorik was that they were built for violence. They were large creatures, heavily muscled, with gray-green skin covered in thick scales. Their leader, Commander Gorthel, had scars across his face and eyes that held no warmth. The negotiations began badly and got worse. Gorthel made demands that were impossible to meet. He wanted not just payment but permanent control of the colony. When Valith refused, he threatened destruction. When she offered compromise, he laughed. You Thyrans are soft, Gorthel said with contempt. You think words and treaties matter. Only strength matters. Only power. His eyes moved to Daniel, who stood behind Violet's chair. And what is this? Gorthel leaned forward with interest. A human? I've heard about your species. Small, weak, primitive. He smiled with too many teeth. What is a creature like you doing among Thyran royalty? Daniel kept his expression neutral. Observing. Gorthel laughed. Like a pet watching its masters. Do they let you sleep at the foot of the princess's bed? Several Vorok joined in the laughter. Vilas Marks flashed with anger, but Daniel touched her shoulder lightly. A signal to wait. Perhaps, Daniel said calmly. Or perhaps I'm taking notes on how to handle situations like this. Gorthel's laughter faded. He studied Daniel with new attention. You have courage, little human. Stupid courage, but courage. The negotiations continued for hours without progress. Finally, Gorthel called for a recess. The delegations retired to separate areas of the facility. That night, everything changed. Daniel woke to the sound of fighting. He grabbed his stun weapon and ran into the corridor. Thyran guards were engaged in combat with Varric soldiers. The facility was under attack. Torvik found him moments later. Blood dripped from a cut on the guard's forehead. It's a trap, Torvik said grimly. The Vorok have taken the facility. They're capturing the delegates. Where's Valith? Safe for now. She barricaded herself in her quarters. But they will break through soon. Daniel's mind raced. He assessed the situation the way he used to assess disaster scenes back home. Chaos everywhere. Superior enemy numbers. Limited resources. But also overconfidence. The Vorok think we're helpless, Daniel said. They think this will be easy. It will be easy. We are outnumbered 5-1. Numbers on everything. Daniel grabbed Torvik's arm. Take me to Valith. I have a plan. They moved through service corridors, avoiding Voruk patrols. When they reached Valith's quarters, they found her with 4 guards, preparing to fight. Her marks were glowing fierce red. Anger and fear combined. Daniel. Relief flooded her voice when she saw him. You're safe. For now. Listen, I have an idea. Daniel explained quickly. The Vorok expected terrified prisoners. They expected surrender. What if the delegates pretended to give them exactly that while preparing a counterattack? Use their prejudice against them, Daniel finished. Let them think they've won. then strike when they're not expecting it. Valeth considered this. It could work, but it's dangerous. Everything is dangerous right now. At least this gives us a chance. She nodded slowly. What do you need? Daniel told her. As he explained each part of the plan, he watched her marks shift from red to orange to yellow. Fear becoming determination. When this is over, Valeth said quietly, we need to discuss your habit of putting yourself in danger. Daniel smiled grimly. It's a rescue worker thing. It's a human thing. She touched his face briefly. Don't get killed, partner. I'll do my best. The plan began at dawn. Daniel allowed himself to be captured. He walked out of hiding with his hands raised, trembling with fear he did not have to fake completely. The Vorok soldiers grabbed him roughly and dragged him before Commander Gorthel. The commander sat in what had been the main negotiation chamber. He had made it his throne room. Captured delegates knelt on the floor before him. Thyrns, colony officials, even some neutral observers. All prisoners now. The little human, Gorthel said with amusement. Come to bed for your life? Daniel kept his eyes down. Please, I'm not part of this. I'm nobody. Just let me go, nobody. Gorthel laughed. You are the princess's pet, yes? Perhaps you have value after all. Perhaps she would trade much to get you back. She doesn't care about me, Daniel said, letting his voice shake. I'm just a decoration. Please, I'll tell you everything I know. I'll help you. Gorthel leaned forward with interest. The contempt in his eyes was exactly what Daniel had counted on. The Vorok saw humans as weak and cowardly. Daniel was giving them exactly what they expected to see. Where is the princess hiding? Daniel hesitated for effect. Then he slumped in defeat. I'll show you. Just promise you won't hurt me. I promise nothing. But you might live longer if you cooperate. Gorthel sent a squad of soldiers with Daniel. 5 heavily armed Vorok followed as he led them through the corridors. He walked slowly, pretending fear. In reality, he was counting steps and watching for positions. They reached a storage area. Daniel pointed at a sealed door. She's in there, with only 2 guards. The Vorok commander in charge of the squad grinned. Break it down. 2 soldiers moved forward with breaching equipment. The rest kept their weapons trained on the door. No one watched Daniel closely. He was just a harmless human. Not worth attention. Daniel moved. He grabbed the nearest soldier's weapon and twisted. The Vorok was strong, but Daniel knew where to apply pressure. The technique Torvik had taught him worked perfectly. The weapon came free and Daniel fired. The first soldier fell. Daniel dove behind cover and fired again. A second soldier dropped. Chaos erupted. The remaining Vorok turned toward him, confused and angry. That moment of confusion was all the hidden Tyron guards needed. The sealed door burst open from inside. Velith's guards emerged with weapons blazing. They had been waiting for Daniel's signal. The fight was brief and brutal. Within 30 seconds, all 5 Vorok were down. Velith emerged from behind her guards. She looked at Daniel with wide eyes. That was insane. It worked. It was still insane. But she was smiling. The counterattack spread through the facility. Groups of guards that had been hiding struck at Vorok patrols. The colony's security forces, who had been waiting for a chance, joined the fight. The Vorok's overconfidence became their weakness. But Gorthel still had hostages. Daniel and Velith reached the main chamber to find the commander holding a blade to Ambassador Dren's throat. A dozen Vorok soldiers formed a defensive line. Outside, the sounds of fighting were growing closer. Stop! Gorthel shouted. One more step and I kill him. Then I kill the rest. Everyone froze. You think you've won? Gorthel's eyes were wild now, desperate. I still have what matters. I still have leverage. Velith stepped forward. Release the hostages. Surrender. I will speak for leniency. Leniency? Gorthel laughed bitterly. From the Thyrans? I know what happens to those who defy your empire. The standoff stretched. Every second felt like an hour. Daniel watched Gorthel's hand on the blade. The commander was unstable. Anything could push him over the edge. Daniel made a decision. Take me instead, he said. Everyone turned to look at him. I'm the princess's partner. I have more value than an ambassador. Daniel walked forward slowly, hands raised. Trade Dren for me. Then you have a bargaining chip that actually matters. Gorthel's eyes narrowed. You would sacrifice yourself? Humans do that. Daniel stopped a few feet away. We're stupid like that. Remember? Something flickered in Gorthel's expression. Greed, maybe. Or perhaps just the desire to hurt something. Fine. He shoved Dren aside and grabbed Daniel instead. The blade pressed against Daniel's neck. Now everyone back away or the human dies. Velas marks flashed bright red. Daniel, no. It's okay, Daniel said calmly. He locked eyes with her. Trust me, his gaze said. Just do what he says. The Thyran guards backed away slowly. Gorthel began pulling Daniel toward a side exit. His escape route. You're all fools, Gorthel said. This human is worth nothing. He's weak. He's fragile. Daniel moved. He grabbed Gorthel's blade arm and twisted, using his body weight and every technique Torvik had taught him. At the same time, he dropped his center of gravity and pulled Gorthel off balance. The blade cut Daniel's shoulder as they struggled. Pain flared hot and sharp. But Daniel did not stop. He could not stop. People were counting on him. They hit the ground together. Daniel kept twisting. Something in Gorthel's arm snapped. The commander screamed and released the blade. Thyran guards swarmed forward. Within seconds, Gorthel was subdued and the remaining Vorak soldiers surrendered. Daniel lay on the floor, breathing hard. Blood soaked his sleeve. The wound was deep, but not fatal. He had had worse. Valeth appeared above him. Her marks pulsed with colors he had never seen before. Fear and relief and something else. Something soft. You complete idiot, she said. Her voice was shaking. It worked. You could have died. I didn't. She knelt beside him and pressed her hands against his wound. Thyran medics rushed forward. The room became a blur of activity. Daniel kept his eyes on Veleth's face. Are you okay? She laughed. It was a broken sound, half sob and half relief. You're bleeding on the floor and you're asking if I'm okay. That's the job. You don't have a job anymore. You're my partner. She leaned closer. And I'm never letting you do something that's stupid again. Can't promise that, I know. She touched his face gently. That's what terrifies me. Daniel woke in a medical bay that looked much nicer than the facility on the colony. He was on a ship, he realized. Moving through space, Valeth sat in the chair beside his bed. She had been there when he fell asleep. She was still there now. How long? He asked. 12 hours. We're returning to the embassy station. She looked tired, but her marks glowed with calm warmth. The Vorak have been arrested. The colony is safe. Commander Howard says you're being recommended for a commendation. Daniel tried to sit up. Pain shot through his shoulder, and he fell back. The wound was serious, Valeth said. Even Thyran medicine needs time for some injuries. I've had worse. Yes, I know. You keep telling me. She moved from the chair to sit on the edge of his bed. Daniel, when Gorthel had that blade at your throat, I thought... She stopped. Took a breath. I thought I was going to watch you die. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. Just... She took his hand in both of hers. When I named you my partner, it was because I saw something rare in you. Now I understand what it is. You will always choose to protect others, even at cost to yourself. Is that bad? It's terrifying and admirable and very, very human. She squeezed his hand. In Thyran culture, partners who survive trials together often become something more, something deeper. Daniel's heart beat faster. What does that mean? It means I would like to find out. Her violet eyes held his. If you would also like to find out. Daniel thought about his life before all this. Filing reports, restocking tables, being invisible. He thought about the moment he ran toward falling debris and changed everything. Yes, he said. I would like that. Vaelith smiled. That radiant smile that made his chest tight. She leaned down and pressed her forehead against his. A Thyran gesture of deep affection, he had learned. Then we will find out together, partner. Through the window behind her, stars streamed past like rivers of light. Somewhere out there, a galaxy waited, full of dangers and wonders and possibilities Daniel could not imagine. He was no longer invisible. He was no longer ordinary. He was the human who stood beside a princess and faced down empires, and he would not trade it for anything.